Equations don't erase planets. They describe, they predict. They explain. This one did none of those. This is episode 9 of the Vanishing Star Map, the equation of disappearance. The archive didn't start with mystery, it started with math. Every disappearance was logged, timed, positioned, patterns weren't searched for emotionally. They were calculated. Billions of data points plotted across a canvas of spacetime, and eventually, something began to align. It was faint at first, a whisper in the statistical noise, but it was there. A shadow of a relationship between events separated by light years and centuries. The archivists felt a chill, not of discovery, but of unease. They were mapping not just where things vanished, but how. The data was leading them somewhere they never intended to go, toward a logic that defied everything they knew about the cosmos. It was pure, cold, and utterly terrifying. At first, it looked meaningless. A complex relationship between distance, stellar mass, and absence. Not energy, not force. Not gravity, absence. A void where something should be, that should not be a variable. In every model of the universe we have ever conceived, absence is the result, not the cause. It's the end of the story, not a character in it, but it kept reappearing. In every calculation, for every missing star, this impossible term was the key. It was the linchpin holding the entire pattern together. The physicists argued, they ran simulations, they tried to disprove it. But the data was relentless. Absence wasn't just a result. It was an active participant. It was a force with its own rules, its own syntax, and the equation was its language. Physics has no symbol for missing. You can describe decay, the slow unraveling of an atom. You can model a supernova, a star's final, violent collapse. You can calculate the event horizon of a black hole, the point of no return. But you cannot write an equation for simple, clean, instantaneous removal. Not from the universe itself. Yet the data demanded it. It screamed for a term that meant was here, now is not, without any messy process in between. So the archive did something unprecedented. They added a term, a symbol they never expected to use. A placeholder for the impossible. They drew a line, a new variable for a concept that shouldn't exist, and plugged it into their models, fully expecting the system to crash. It didn't. When applied retroactively, the equation fit every single case. Every vanished star, every silent constellation, every missing planet from the earliest records. Even the broken, incomplete map that started this whole investigation. Not approximately, not with a margin of error, perfectly, to the last decimal point. It was as if the history of cosmic disappearances had been written using this formula all along. That was the problem. In science, perfection is a red flag. Nature has noise, it has chaos, it has variables you can't account for. A perfect fit doesn't mean you found the answer. It means you found something else entirely. Something that isn't describing reality, but defining it. The silence in the control room was absolute. They hadn't discovered a natural law, they had found a code. Equations don't just describe the past, they predict the future. With trembling hands, the team in the archive ran the equation forward, just once. They fed it the current state of the galaxy and asked a single question, what's next? The system processed for a fraction of a second before spitting out an answer. It produced a coordinate, a specific point in the sky. It gave a time window, precise down to the hour, and it assigned a probability, a number so uncomfortably close to certainty that it felt less like a prediction and more like an appointment. The universe, it seemed, had a schedule, and the equation was the timetable. For the first time, they weren't looking at the ghosts of the past. They were staring at a ghost yet to be born. The result was classified immediately. Not because it was dangerous, though it was classified because it was precise. Vague warnings can be debated, they can be dismissed, but a coordinate and a timestamp. That's a death sentence. It named the next disappearance. A star, unassuming and distant, now had a target on its back. And the equation specified when it would occur. A countdown had begun. For the first time in their long, quiet history of cataloging the gone, the pattern was speaking in advance. It was no longer a puzzle to be solved. It was a threat. The weight of that knowledge was immense. Do you warn a civilization that you can't save? Do you watch a star, knowing the moment it will be extinguished? The archive was no longer a library of the lost. It had become a witness to a murder, before the fact. The symbols didn't resemble any known physics. They weren't from quantum mechanics or relativity. They weren't human. They weren't even alien, not in the way we understand it. There were no flourishes of culture, no hints of biology or philosophy. They were structural, inescapable, like a rule set. A fundamental constraint written directly into the fabric of reality itself. It was as if, when the universe was formed, this equation was written into its source code. Not a law of physics that emerges from interactions, but a command that dictates them. As if the universe was a grand computation, slowly solving itself toward a predetermined conclusion. And the disappearances weren't accidents or anomalies, they were the answer. But there was another part of the equation, a final, chilling discovery. One variable had no physical meaning. It wasn't tied to mass, or distance, or time, or energy. After weeks of analysis, they found its correlation. The variable represented recognition, awareness. The more the pattern was observed, the faster the equation resolved. The more data they collected, the more they studied the disappearances, the more focused the outcome became. The probability didn't just get closer to certainty. The time window for the next event started to shrink. They had assumed they were passive observers, looking through a one-way mirror at the workings of the cosmos. They were wrong. The mirror was a window, and something was looking back. The horrifying truth crashed down upon them. The equation wasn't predicting the disappearances, it was responding to their attention. Observation wasn't just passive, it was an input. Measurement didn't just record the event, it accelerated it. Every telescope they pointed, every signal they analyzed, every archivist who studied the pattern was feeding the very phenomenon they were trying to understand. The archive, in its desperate search for an answer, had become part of the mechanism. They realized it far too late. They weren't studying the pattern. They were feeding it. Their curiosity was the catalyst. Their knowledge was the fuel. They were the architects of the very destruction they were trying to prevent. The equation has been locked away in the deepest, most secure vault in the archive, not deleted, because it cannot be. You can't delete a mathematical truth. It exists independent of us. It's a fact of the universe waiting to be rediscovered. Mathematics doesn't forget, and neither does the pattern. It's out there, quiet for now, waiting for someone else to get curious, waiting for someone to start connecting the dots again, waiting to be observed. Thank you for listening.